the Know Your Gear podcast. The Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, episode 420 on the 4th of July. Today is the 4th of July, which is a very special day. If you don't know, it is the day before Amanda Coombs' birthday. And that's a very special day. So for those of you that want to give her a happy birthday, say happy birthday to her. Because her birthday officially is tomorrow, but hey, you know what? We'll celebrate the whole weekend. Why not? So that being said, happy birthday to Amanda. And also, it's also 4th of July for the United States. So happy 4th of July to everybody. Whoever's out there having fun and enjoying a 3-day weekend. I hope you guys all got a 3-day weekend. Okay, we have a lot of subjects to talk about. We have a lot of things to talk about. And also, what else? We had some early riser questions as well. And let me grab one, if we can, real quick. And I thought I saw one early on. What did I have? I had something to set aside. But I don't think I have it now. I thought I grabbed it. I apologize. I'm going to start the show off. We're starting off with a bang. Haha, pun intended. Okay. So let's go to one of the ones I saw. This one came from I'll just go to a patron poll. Okay, so because I'm not seeing all the early riser ones right now, and I'm sure it's just because my thing's updating. So I got a question from the patron side, and it said that they wanted to know, did Guitar Center get upset when I did the BC Rich guitar video that was not good? And the reason that question was asked is, if you didn't see that video, I had asked Guitar Center to if they would help co-sponsor a video by sending out a BC Rich Gunslinger, the new one that's now made in India, and take a look at it. And it's a $900 guitar, so without tax. With tax, you're looking at $1,000, and it didn't do so well on the video. If you guys saw that video, I would put it in the top 5 worst deep dives. Like for the results of how the guitar came. And so I think that's a well question. The question, the way I take that question is, what do I do when a company sponsors a video and the product is horrible? Well, I do the same thing I always do, just make the video. And in this case, it's actually more of a relief. And here's why. When a company that, maybe if like BC Rich sponsors video and said the guitar, it's tough because they're helping me make this video, and the video is going to be, it sucks. But you gotta, you persevere, you go through, and I just do it. And what I've learned is, if it's meant to be to work together after that, it's meant to be. If it's not, it's not. I kind of have to explain to every company that I essentially work for the audience. That's the way it works. So that's the real boss, and that's the way I got to focus it. But in this case, it's easy because Guitar Center should be the one mad for sure, but at BC Rich, not at me. My attitude, and I'm sure Hope Guitar Center's attitude too, is they didn't make that guitar crappy. That guitar came out of the box. You could argue that Guitar Center didn't do like a 55-point inspection like Sweetwater. It didn't pull out of the box. It didn't check those things, and it didn't claim to do so. Like I said, if you guys remember the original, when I had a problem with the 55-point inspection years ago, before the revamp of the 55-point inspection, which was made because of that video, my issue was that Sweetwater injected themselves in between me and the manufacturer. In other words, manufactured guitar shipped to the store shipped to me, and they decided that they would say, hey, we're going to take them out of the box and check them and make sure they're right. And so when it doesn't get right, and when it's not right when it gets to you, I would be upset, which like I was at Sweetwater. But I said in that video that if Sam Ash or Guitar Center if I bought it from them, I wouldn't be upset because they didn't claim they checked the guitar before I got it. I think that it's great, as someone who obviously had to do that for a long time, check guitars before people bought them as a store. I think it's a great service to give the customer. However, it's not the retailer's job to make sure every product is satisfactory or right. Now, it gets a little gray in the guitar area, but I mean, imagine, if you will, Walmart had to pull every blender out of every box and check to make sure it worked and it had the instruction manual, right? And it's insanity. You're relying on the manufacturer to do the job right and get the product to the customer. The retailer's job is to add service with the sale, in other words, educating the customer, and also add service after the sale when the manufacturer has obviously made a mistake, like in BC Rich. In that particular case, since the guitar was sent to me as a promotion, not promotion, but it was, a sponsor, right? I went ahead and did the video. However, if I was a customer and I had paid for that, I would have returned it with the 45-day Guitar Center return policy, and that's how Guitar Center would have took care of me in that instance. So that is why Guitar Center was not upset. Guitar Center has had no qualms or issues. In fact, they have They have, They have worked with me on other videos. They have other videos planned to work with me, including, I've asked them, think about this, I've asked them to do the biggest, not exaggerating, review video I've ever done on the channel. Ever. I can't hype this video enough. And the only way the hype will be bad is if it doesn't happen. And they have agreed to do it to help me do this, which is it was a big ask for them, for me to ask them to do this for me. So I just thought I would, I thought I'd get that to you. But anyway, so back to the question. No, Guitar Center did not email me, did not, they didn't reach out. They didn't say, hey, I wish you wouldn't have done that video, or hey, anything, nothing. And on that note, neither did BC Rich, which is the takeaway I always take away. Usually if I have a review that goes really bad, whether a company helps sponsor it or not, usually the company reaches out. I'll give you a good example. I mentioned last week that I had a video coming out this week that didn't come out. That video was about a guitar with a defect. My patron saw the guitar. However, as I wanted to, I sent out a communication to the company that made the instruments and said, this is the defect I have found. And unlike Washburn, who still hasn't ever responded to me in now a month and 1 week, I think I'm going to continue to always count every week from now on, till Washburn ever responds to my last couple emails about what happened with the N4 guitar. Like I said, the retailer took care of me. I have no qualms. I just more of a humorous side, joke to go, hey, wouldn't it be funny to see if it's 2 years from now? It's been 2 years and 3 months, and I still haven't heard from Washburn. Anyways, the company reached out, I would say right away, within 48 hours, so 2 days is very reasonable. Within 2 days, reached out, asked if they could talk to me, let me know that they have come across the issue, and now we're working together. And I'll let you know what transpires from it all. So, okay, so that's my long way of saying Guitar Center did not get upset about the BC Rich being defective, because it's not their responsibility to make the guitar not defective. And everybody has mixed opinions of the Sweetwater 55-point inspection. And my point is like I said, if I appreciate that Sweetwater does that, maybe one day Guitar Center will do something like that too. But in the meantime, they don't, so they wouldn't have known it was defective. Okay, so Doug says, who owns BC Rich these days? It's if I say his name incorrectly, please don't get mad at me. I believe it's Zoltan Bathory. And again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it in any way. It's not, that's just the way I heard it. Somebody say it once, and then that's the way it sticks in your head. I didn't read it and phonetically read it that way. Just someone said his name. So he is with Five Finger Death Punch. I believe he is one of the owners of BC Rich. He might be the sole owner of BC Rich, but that is who owns BC Rich. And, but anyways, okay, let's go on to another subject. Let's go on to some, you guys got a lot of 420 jokes. I figured it was going to be a 420J. It's 420 on the 4th of July, so of course you can light up a joint and then light a firecracker off that. That'd be about the thing to do for most of us that have states that have that legal. Let's look at Vimps69. What's up, Vimps? He says, Happy Independence Day, Phil. I know you prefer Princeton. What are your thoughts on the Deluxe Reverb compared to the Princeton? I think the Deluxe Reverb sounds better. So I have a 65 Deluxe Reverb. So in reference, here's where it gets a little strange for that. And I'll give you the two sides of that. I have a 65 Deluxe Reverb, and I have a Fender. When I say I have a Fender Princeton, I should point out I have 3 Fender Princetons. I have I'm down to 2 now. Sorry, I'm down to 2. Because I kind of think of my Morgan Princeton copy as another Princeton. So 2 Princetons. I have a 68 reissue Princeton, and I have the 64 Princeton, which is the hand-wired version of the 65, essentially. So I have 2 Princetons, and I have the 65 Deluxe. Given the fact that the 64 is hand-wired, and I didn't buy it new, I bought it used, but new, it's got a $3,000 sticker price, I would still argue that my 65 Deluxe sounds better, and my 65 Deluxe is just the standard production one, than the 64 Princeton, even that, to my ears, and to what I like. However, I'd also point out that I like the 65 Deluxe, which is really strange, more than the 64 hand-wired Deluxe. I had a 64 hand-wired Deluxe, and I didn't get on with it. It was a little too bright. And I think I could have got inside the chassis and snipped out the bright cap in there, and I think that's like the fix for it. But again, is another $3,000 amp that once I do that, I'm owning this thing whether I like it or not. And in the particular case I got it. I did not get on with it, and I was lucky enough to have bought it and be able to return it within 30 days. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to keep this. So I prefer my 65. However, the reason why I love Princeton so much is because I think that at low volumes, they sound amazing. So I would argue that if I'm trying to play really, really quiet, which a lot of times I'm trying to, I would pick my Princeton, either one, the 68 or the 64, over my Deluxe Reverb any day. And in fact, I don't know how to do it in a video, but I've done it for friends. Like I can sit at Princeton next to the 65 in the room, plug a pedal in front of it, play it both of them real quiet, and they'll all go, oh, the Princeton sounds better than the 65. I'm like, yeah, I agree. Watch this. And turn it up. I don't mean crank it. Just turn it up to more of an average, bedroom level for playing, midday and stuff. And immediately like, oh, the 65 sounds so much better. I'm like, yes, the 65, the Deluxe sounds better. The Deluxe to me is not a loud amp when it's, it can be quiet as a platform for pedals. But it has to do with the 10-inch speaker. A lot of it, the Princeton has the 10-inch speaker, so it's just easier to get that speaker, I guess, moving at a lower volume. The Princeton to me compresses. I don't know how to explain that. When you crank up amps, they have this kind of like compression sound to them. And at lower volumes, the Princeton to me has it even at low volumes. So I prefer the Princeton for quiet play at night. It's kind of my luxury practice amp is how I look at my Princeton. The 2 amps I play for practice without I should say 3. Okay, there's 3 amps that I practice with. And that's funny. Ironically, they're in 3 different rooms. So that kind of makes sense why I'm using those 3. The Yamaha THR30, I absolutely love that. I use one setting on it. I don't even have a clean and dirty channel or anything on it. I have one setting where if I run my volume up, it's a little distorted, and I run volume down, it's a little clean. Or if I run single coils into it, it's clean. I use that one in the shop that you guys see me filming the repair videos in. I have the Princeton in my like play area room, where the room in like the bedroom kind of area where I play guitar. And then in here, I have the Engl Steve Morse amp. And those 3 amps I can play incredibly quiet and be totally happy with the sound I'm getting out of them. So, but if you made me pick one, the Princeton or the Deluxe, and said this is the only amp you can have, I would pick the Deluxe because I know it can do anything and I don't have to worry about it. But and I have to tell you, my Deluxe does not get played very much because I have the Princeton. It's been this back and forth for years. George says, does the Princeton with the 12-inch speaker sound as good at low volume? It kind of does. So, I used to have a Princeton with a 12-inch speaker, one of their limited edition reissues. Now I have the Morgan PR12, which is Morgan amps. Joe Morgan, who does Joe Morgan amps, has a hand-wired amp. I have his amp. The PR12 has a 112 greenback selection in it. So, yeah, it gets super quiet as well, too. It can work fine. The 10 just helps. It's not an essential part of that. The main thing that makes the Princeton do well is the fact that it's 12 watts. And, just like I said, it doesn't have that that thing where you crank it and it just jumps the volume like crazy. It kind of rides up smooth, but and if I ever had to just pick one amp forever, but I could have pedals, like a pedal platform amp, it would probably be, if I only could pick one amp that I have for pedals. In other words, it's just a clean platform for pedals. I would probably either pick my 65 Deluxe as my sole only amp. I mean, not only like Fender amp, just only amp period, or the Joe Morgan. Damn, why can't I say it? The Morgan PR12. And just run pedals for it. And if I had to have one amp, but I wasn't allowed to have pedals, it would be my Amplified Nation amp, just because that does gain and a kind of higher mid gain and then a clean. And if it wasn't that, it would definitely be the Engl Steve Morse amp. And then keep in mind, as I say all that, still spending 90% of the time on my Kemper. Sean says the Marshall 1974X. That's a great amp. I love it. As you know, I have one. I told Sweetwater that I wanted to do a video about one. I worked out a deal, and I have one. I have the 1974X, and then I have the Marshall 2071. I have a lot of amps, way more amps than I ever need. Just not the amps you used to see, and not a lot of amps compared to a lot of other, channels now that have amps. I've really pared down a lot of the amps, and I have, I guess the best way to put it is I have amps that are in my personal collection. These are things that I just hold dear, and I love them. And then there are amps that are functional for the channel, like the Synergy amp and stuff like that, or maybe the Ampeg amp or the PV amp, just amps that I can use to make videos, which makes sense. Luckily for me, I'd say the only amp that I have I would say is my personal amp, an amp that I use personally a lot and make videos, is the Engl Steve Morse amp, just because it's it's just a great utility product. So it has a lot of downsides, but it works great. But I don't know. Okay, next subject is we have Christian, who says, "Hey, when you do a guitar of the week, can you play Happy Birthday for Amanda?" I don't know how to play Happy Birthday, so I'll say no. Nope. I don't know. We'll do something for Guitar of the Week. Today's the first July series of Guitar of the Week, which I'm very excited. We're doing a special series of Guitar of the Week for the month of July. I'm happy to share with you guys later on. Christian also says, "Hey," oh no, he says, oh, he did it twice. Okay, thanks. Clan of Housecat says, "Hey, what do you think of the 2000s red faded Gibson V?" Well, I don't think much about it. I like Gibson Vs. I had one. It was a white one. And now Ralph has it. It was in my front room for the longest time. And I have one hanger in the front, I guess not the front room, the family room, where you watch TV. In my family room where we watch TV, I have, so on each side of the TV, one side of the TV, I have a picture of Van Halen that's signed by Larry DiMarzio from a photo he took of the Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, I believe, right? And on the other side, I have a guitar that hangs there, and I change out the guitars from time to time. And I had a Gibson white V there that's basically just like the one you're talking about, but it's painted white. And then Ralph goes, "I'm going to get a V." And I go, "Well, I got a smoking deal on that V, like a smoking silly, especially now in today's numbers, smoking silly deal. Like, you can't buy an Epiphone for what I paid for that V." And it was in perfect condition. And I go, "You could just have it for what I paid for it." So he took it. I want another Gibson V. I want a Gibson V. I don't know why. I've been debating. The only reason I haven't bought a Gibson V is there's another V that's on my crosshairs that I've kind of given up on. It's been about a year and a half. I've been looking for one. And the other thing is I'm thinking, I don't know why, I haven't decided, but you'll know before the end of this month. I guarantee it. I've been debating back and forth on selling my Gibson red Firebird, that is really beautiful Firebird, and selling that and taking some of the money from that and buying myself a Epiphone Firebird and Epiphone V, and just having an Epiphone Firebird and V set, and they will, and be into them much less than, just that Firebird. So I'm just thinking about that. So I'm just debating it. It's one of those things. I keep saying I'm going to do it, and then I pull out the Firebird and play it, and then I go, no, I can't get rid of this thing. It's so awesome. But it's so nice. PJ says, Karina, that is what I want. I want a Karina V. I've been working on figuring out how to get one that I want. And, it's, so, it's funny. All these years, I have so many guitars, and you're still going, well, I just need the one more guitar. Just one more guitar. Susan says that Firebird is very nice. You will regret letting it go. I'll tell you a funny thing. I did a video, and it's probably one of the worst videos I did in the hindsight of it. I did a video because I just love the title. The title was, sometimes you're sitting there when you make content, you get a title in your head. The title, then you start thinking of how would that video look and what would it be like in your head, and you're like, this is a great video, I'm going to do it. And I did a video like guitars I regret getting rid of or something like that. And of course, I had the title, and I'm like, well, what are the guitars I regret? And I made a list of guitars that I honestly regretted getting rid of. And I did the video, and I said, hey, here's a list of guitars I regretted getting rid of. And I thought the discussion would be fun, like our Friday fun podcast ideas where we discuss, the things we do, guitar players. And I got so many people reaching out going, hey, I have one of those guitars and I can sell it to you. And hey, I can help you get one of those guitars back. And I think what the understanding is, the misunderstanding was, when I let a guitar go, I very, very rarely want it back. I know sometimes, like you've seen, I'm like, oh, I let go of a guitar, but I bought a new one. It's not because I so much regret that guitar being gone. The thing about the other guitar I didn't like, I found one that didn't have that issue. Like, let's say, perfect example is the N4 Padauk. I just bought one. I did have one about 15 years ago. I had an N4 Padauk that was 11 pounds. It was like 10 pounds, 8 ounces or something like that. So I guess not like 11, not quite 11 pounds. But so having one 8 pounds it's not nicer, because I found myself, it's not like I don't hate heavy guitars. I just find that I told you guys, if you have a light guitar and a heavy guitar sitting on two guitar stands, you tend to grab the light one every time. So I just noticed that. So if I get rid of it, I don't think I'll regret it. That's why, but I haven't got rid of it. So if I get to that point, I think I'll be fine. I'm just not there. Jay Aaron says, hey, I noticed there isn't much discussion about ESP guitars. Is there any particular reason why? Well, I've done a lot of, I'm saying a lot. I've done ESP, I've done E2, I've done LTD guitar videos on the channel, very few of them. And the irony of it is that what comes up a lot on this podcast is things I've done in the past, because people have seen videos and they're viewers of the channel, and they're like, oh, he did a PRS, or he did a Parker, or he did a Gibson, and those brands typically come up. I'm a huge fan of ESP, LTD, and ESP ESP, LTD, and E2. I don't really like the E2 name. I've talked about this. I have my issues. We've talked about that. But as a fan of ESP is the unobtainium guitars. They're super crazy expensive, but they're beautiful. LTD, I love them. I just don't. They're not a company that works with me. I could talk about it now because the guy isn't there anymore. The guy who ran ESP. I had a funny story that happened once. So, another YouTube channel reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm friends with the CEO of ESP," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." And they go, they asked about you, and I go, "Oh, they asked about me?" I was super excited. You guys don't understand. I was super excited. I was like, "Oh, this is so great," right? Because to me, it's like, now I can make content. And he goes, yeah. He goes, he said he was recommended you by a couple companies he works with, other brands. They said that Phil's like amazing or whatever, and they're hyping me up, and he gets views, and you should work with him. And he goes, what do you think of him? And so the other YouTuber goes, I know him personally for years. He's a straight up guy, and he is what he is in the videos. He's pretty honest and straightforward. You'll like it because ESP's, I guess they're not really into paying, YouTubers and stuff. So it works out great because it's like more of a, they'll loan you the expensive guitars and maybe let you keep the inexpensive ones. And he says, nah, I'm okay with what the YouTuber's working with now. And then when he told me, I was thinking, one, why did you tell me this? And two, I'm like, oh, that sucks. But he's not there anymore. So that's the main reason. We don't probably do a whole lot of their guitars. I try to hit, I can't say every brand, but I try to hit as many brands as I can. That's just how it goes. And I kind of feel like with this discussion, we should probably segue into something that I have a question that I wasn't sure if I was going to bring up, but unless I got super chatted or something. But it was sent to me so many times, and I'll keep it brief, but it's perfect for this discussion right now. Everyone was asking about the gear YouTube dying videos. So apparently, if you haven't seen, there's a bunch of YouTube channels that have made a bunch of videos about how I call it GearTube. GearTube is dying. And, what do I think about that? And, I personally, since no one was asking me about it, I was like, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't really think it's productive. However, it definitely ties into this discussion because, when I hear stuff like that, like you guys, I think about it. I've said this before, I'm on the wrong side of the fence for you guys. So me telling you about YouTube being good or bad is like asking a guitar manufacturer, what do you think of the state of the industry right now? And they're like, it's great. Everybody's buying guitars. You should too. So of course I'm going to be like, YouTube's great. Everybody's watching YouTube and everybody loves it. However, I think I have a different take. So maybe the take, and it ties into this ESP LTD question that I just got asked. So I want to share something with you because I was looking at that because I have an interesting, my channel is definitely, when I say unique, I don't mean that it's uniquely different than the other channels in the content that I do. It's unique in the way that it works. And what I mean by that is I don't have a whole lot of peaks and valleys. So here's what I can tell you. In 2017, I don't remember the month, but you can actually go on you can find my stats. All my stuff is public. I can't stop it, just like every other influencer channel can't stop their stuff from being public. The very first month, which I think was in 2017, some month, I hit 1 million views for the month. I've hit 1 million views for the month every month since, except for 1 month where I got 900 and something thousand views. It was the only month. So look at that. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. In almost 8 years, I have hit 1 million views every single month or more, but a minimum 1 million views a month, except for 1 month. And that's the month I got COVID because I just didn't make content that month. I don't know why. Anyways, so consistent, right? I don't have a whole lot of peaks of value. I don't have it. So, if you look at my stats, I don't have a month where I didn't go below 1 million except for that one. And I don't have a month where I hit 3 million. I don't have that either. I think I only have 1 month I ever hit 2 million. And that I think was in December of 2017 for all the wrong reasons, right? If that makes any sense. But anyways, so I stay consistent is what I want to say. And I really applaud you for that. I think the sense of community helps that. However, what I want to share with you guys that helps you, because I don't want to sit here and tell you guys about the YouTuber side. It doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter what the algorithm's doing. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. What does matter to a guitar community, to you, because it matters to me, is this. So I was looking at some stats, and I thought instead of giving you some emotional opinions about the state of YouTube, other than things I've said in the past, which is, 5 years ago, I didn't have to compete with the news on YouTube. So now I compete with the news, which is tough, right? And I have to compete with like kitty videos, like pretty kittens, and then shark attack videos, and then whatever horrible, scary thing the news can scare you with, right? And so that's why clickbait titles came about, because without some kind of sensationalized title, you're not going to make somebody jump on it right away. But I want to share with you this. If I look at I want to share this with you. This is in the last, all this stuff is going to be within the last 60 days because it worked out perfect. In the last 60 days, I've done 4 sponsored content videos and I've done 4 independent videos. And I'm going to click on the data right now so I can share with you. And my 4 sponsored videos, according to this, my 4 unsponsored. So these are the independent videos. These are the videos that I basically paid out of pocket to do. My 4 independent videos have 556,100 views. 500,000 views. In the last 2 months, I've done 500,000 views across 4 videos independently. That means with no corporate sponsors, no outside, no loans of any equipment. I did that independent. We did that here. You guys did that. We did it together. Patrons did that. Channel members did that. Subscribers did that. We did that. I have an estimated, because I keep track of everything, an estimated loss of $310.34. That means after I paid, not myself, just for the equipment that I've also sold now, except for one thing, and I'll get to that in a second, I have lost $310.34. That means I made 4 videos that got 500,000 views, and I've lost $310. So I average about 2 to 2.5 days per video. So let's say 2 days. So we're going to say that's 8 days work, which is a work week. So solid work week. I worked for a solid week and I lost $310. Now, here's the thing I need to point out. I haven't lost the $310 yet. This is the depressing part. I will lose the $310 when I finally sell the last guitar of those 4 guitars. What I mean by that is I have to sell that guitar. I'm hoping to net about $500 from that guitar sale. And when I do that, then I'll be out $310.34. Okay, now this isn't woe is me. This is to explain the difference in what you're seeing out there. Now, my 4 sponsored videos, how did those go? Well, those 4 sponsored videos have 200 and I got to get back to the screen so I can tell you exact numbers. I apologize. Those 4 sponsored videos have a total of 204,800 views. So less than half. I got less than half the views in the same 2 months on those videos. Now, what did I make on those videos? I'm not going to tell you. But I will help you understand. If I made $0, I'm ahead $310.34. So let's start there. Let's just start there, okay? And by the way, when I say lost $310, I want you to understand that's after YouTube paid me, after all the stuff that happens, after I pay myself costs. So now, that was a really interesting snapshot I took on the channel. If I take other snaps on the channel, I could find other scenarios that are like it. I've even found ones where I've lost even more and made even more on the sponsored content. Brian says I made 17 million. No, I would say I'll give you a guesstimate because right, it's just a guess. That I want to say it's probably somewhere around $700, $680, $700 per video is what I made, like net and done. So let's just keep it easy. And that's the reason why I don't want to tell you is not so much I don't want to tell you because one, I don't like to talk about that particular side. That's my personal business. But also when you do sponsored content, it's not the same. So if I said I got, like if I told you I made $10,000 on 4 sponsored videos, you'd be like, that's insane. I'm like, yeah, but then the last 4 I made $300. Like it's all over the place. By the way, it's never been $10,000 for 3 videos. No, I love it. Please don't depress me guys with these $10,000 and all these high things. No, it's more like $3,000. Maybe it's like $700 a video. So what's that? So $2,700, $2,800, something like that. Maybe. Okay, so the important part is this, is that when I watched a lot of these channels talk about this, and I watch a lot of people pontificate what's happening on GuitarTube out there, GearTube, I want you to understand there is the incentive that I have to make content that is not sponsored. So the reason I brought it up with this particular question was, you noticed I don't talk about ESP LTD a lot. But the important part is this. I bought an ESP guitar. I bought 2 LTD guitars and I posted them on this channel. I buy Gibson guitars. I post them on this channel. I buy Epiphone guitars. I post them on this channel. I buy Fender guitars. I post them on this channel. I buy Squier guitars. I post them on this channel. And then what I do, which I have a lot of moral struggle with, is I take companies like Kiesel, who doesn't pay me, but they'll send me a guitar. PRS, who doesn't pay me, but they'll send me a guitar. Other companies who will pay to sponsor videos. I take the money that they gave me and I buy their competitors' guitars and show them to you on this channel. So in essence, I have to wrestle with the fact that mentally I'm always taking the companies who love and support what I do, or at least willing to work with me. I take their money and I fund their competitors because, I'll tell you why. Because one, I think the deep dives won't work if there isn't a broad scope of instruments that I go across. Why this week did I do a Silvertone from 1960s? Because I thought, wow, how do you have a reference to whether or not a Firefly is any good or not if the only thing you compare it to is, an expensive guitar or another guitar like it on the market? What about comparing it to a guitar? What was an inexpensive guitar like the PVT 15? What was an inexpensive guitar like in the 80s? What was it like in the 60s? What was it like in the 90s? Is things getting better? Are things getting worse? It's comparative. It's not an opinion anymore. It's not my opinion. It's just you guys can see how all guitars come across the same system, the system being me, which is taking, measuring, rubbing a sock on it, whatever the hell that is. At least you can watch these videos with a reference to say, hey, look, when he did IKEA caster, that's how that performed. And when he did a Parker or a crazy expensive PRS artist guitar like the Herman Lee, you have a comparative to look at, and then maybe you can make some decisions from that. And that's why I find it was valuable. But there's also a part of me that believes, I do believe this. I believe that there was a time when people made movies, and it's going to sound weird, and the stories were always the same. When you see a great movie, okay? I'm going to say Jaws, for those that said Jaws was good last time I was talking about Jaws. When you see a great movie like Jaws, there's a story behind it that always seems to be really consistent. The consistent story is, we were over budget. They wanted us to stop. It was time to quit. And we said, I'll give up my pay because I'll just take the back end. And then they become super rich because the movie became super huge. And now when I see movies that are not so great, it's always the same story. Oh, they had a $20 million advance to the person who made the movie, and the other person got $10 million advance. And I'm like, yeah, we paid out all this money up front, and then they didn't make you a great movie. And so I kind of think with the YouTube channel, maybe it's the same way. Maybe if I keep investing into the channel, right? New equipment, new cameras, new everything. Keep investing more guitars that are different than just. Otherwise, look, guys, I get it. It could be Kiesel week almost every week. Kiesel would gladly send me a guitar every week. So would a lot of companies that just they get along with me. But I just know that gets exhausting, right? I mean, it's exhausting for everybody, right? And then this is the important part to end with on this subject, because there's going to be an argument. It's going to come in this comments in any second now if I haven't already seen it. Yeah, but if you don't do that, they won't watch. Well, if you're paying attention out there, my average views on a video is 100,000 views per video. That's my average. If you take videos and divide them up, that's what I average. It's almost, doesn't mean every video I get gets 100,000 views. The last video I just did, it got 50,000 views. But it's an average. I don't need that. I only need about 10,000 views to get paid by a sponsor to make video content. So I could lose 90% of my views and still be valuable to a company, because I don't think you guys understand the gear tube world, which is sponsored content pays way more than independent content, to the point of a factor of 10. And that doesn't even make sense what I just said, because I just explained to you I was negative on independent content. So 10 times negative is still negative. I mean, I'm implying if I made $310, I made 10 times more if I did sponsored. And also, I don't need as many views, right, to do it, which is a lot easier, to deal with. But the other thing is that you can see, I think that's what hurts the gear tube, is that it's too easy to take the low-hanging fruit, which is the paid content every time. And I don't mean to disparage anybody who's doing, like I said, demo videos and all this stuff, paid content videos. Look, it's really hard to get 100,000 views. It's not, there's no, it's a 7-day-a-week job to try to figure out how to get content to move all the time. But I just wanted you guys to see it from my perspective, but not so much as lecturing you guys on it, but more explaining that this is what you see. I see it every time I go into my content. I can see whenever I see low performing videos, I go, oh yeah, that was a sponsored video. The sponsored videos get the least amount of views because it feels more like a commercial. When it was, I don't mean when a company agrees to work with me on an idea I have. I'm talking about when they send you here's the new pedal that does a thing, and we show it, and it's like, oh, it feels like a commercial. Well, right, because I wouldn't have made it if they didn't send it, and you wouldn't have watched it if you weren't somewhat interested in what maybe my content. However, the thing that everybody misses is this, and this is the secret sauce. The conversion rates decline when the views get high. So if you think that if I get 10,000 views, or any channel, and they sell 100 pedals, and when they get 100,000, they're going to sell 1,000 pedals, you're absolutely wrong. I can tell you right now from experience, I guarantee this. I can even probably back it up with numbers if you wanted, but I'm not going to do that today because I feel like this subject's too long. If a YouTuber gets 10,000 views and sells 100 pedals and I get 100,000 views, or any channel gets 100,000 views, most likely they might sell 200 pedals. Maybe. And that's really not, I don't even believe that. I believe it's more like 150. The truth is, the most extreme guitar buyers watch the content the most, which is what I do all the time. I just bought a tool watching another YouTube channel a week ago. So what I'm trying to say is the companies don't really need big views, and therefore the YouTubers don't really need big views. There's no money in big views. So what people I think confuse is a lot of it is like, hey, they're not getting views like they used to on a channel. That's true, but also I'm like, they're also better business people than they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and they know what works now. Same thing if they're selling any kind of lesson programs or anything like that, the conversion is much better at lower views than it is at higher views. It's just a smart way to do business. And so it's just a business. So I'd almost say there is some channels that are not doing as well. That happens. That's everywhere. And there are some channels who are probably choosing not to do as well because it makes more sense to maybe take more sponsored content and do less independent. Makes more sense to focus on the sales aspect conversion versus the view conversion. Because like I said, no views that I've ever got has paid anything close to what sales can convert to. So that's my take on it, but also why, I liked how it connected to the Ys and their ESPs, but there is, and I've tried, by the way, and every time you guys bring that up, I bring in more guitars. So, I just pulled in some guitars. I just bought some guitars literally that have not been on the channel in a long time or at all. I'm sorry. Evan says, can I buy bulk fret socks in merch store with KYG logo? You cannot. But if you ever need the nylon socks, they sell them on Amazon. They're called footies. Sadly enough, this is funny. At least I'll give you some humor at the end of this. Ready? Some humor. Here's some humor. When I came up with the idea to take a nylon sock and rub it on a fret, that wasn't the first idea, as you can imagine. I didn't go, hey, I should take some women's under things and okay. I was like, maybe a balloon. So I tried a balloon. I was like, I was just thinking piece of paper. I was like, rub a piece of paper on there. It wasn't working. I was like, I just want to show what it feels like. Because it's so horrible when the frets are, you guys know, they're sticking out. And I go, okay, I'm going to do this. And I didn't ask Shauna to do it. I did it myself. I went to Target and I went into the women's area and I bought some leggings. I don't remember exactly what they cost. I just remember they were a lot, like $20. I thought that was $20 I think that's what it was. And I got leggings. Anyways, and I was a little embarrassed, as you imagine, even though I have a wife. I went and bought some stupid other things. I don't even remember what. It was probably like a can of green beans and a thing of orange juice or something. I don't know. I just got some stuff like to kind of make it look like I was running a husband errand or something. I buy these nylon socks. I come back. I go in the shop. I pull them out and they're like two long legs and this like pantyhosey thing. I cut off the piece and I do it and it works perfectly. And I go, this is ingenious. And I go, but at $20, this is going to suck. Because I could barely get 4 pantyhose tests out of this, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, Brian says, you mean hose? Look, I don't know what they're called, right? They're women's leggings. I don't know, like I said. So anyways, so I go, this isn't going to work. And then I remembered, I went in the kitchen, and I said, hey, Shauna, one time you went to the shoe store, I was with you, and she's like, yeah, and I go, and you didn't have socks, and they gave you socks. And she's like, yeah, because she had like flip-flops on. And she goes, you mean footies? And I'm like, what did you say? And I pull out my phone and I go, footies. And of course, what comes up was this. So you guys know, look. So obviously I must have did a couple searches. There it is. And now we're sharing. These are disposable foot socks. Wow, when I started buying these, they were like $8, but it's 144. So you know, to have a reference, I've gone through three boxes for sure. I think I'm on my 4th box now. So quite a few boxes. So I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah, Deja says still waiting for that Footies endorsement. Yeah, you know, that would be, I'd do it. Are you kidding? I would absolutely do it. You know, the ultimate deal is to find something that doesn't compromise, the opinions, right? So if I could get an endorsement that wouldn't compromise the opinions and have it on every video, that'd be great. So that would be one. I'd be like, what do you guys care if hey, get your Footies. All right, let's go to another. Did I lose my whole screen? I did. Let me go back to it. Okay. As I look at my timeline. Okay, and let's see here. Amanda sent some questions. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab a couple of the ones Amanda sent, since I tend to get... this one came from Eric. Eric says, hey, thoughts on Carr amplifiers, Carr. I've owned 3. I loved all 3. My favorite was the Mercury 8. That was the first one I got. It's not a regret. Do I regret getting rid of it? I don't regret it. I really liked it, loved it. And then what happened was, I'll tell you what happened. The next one I got was, what was the next one I got? This one was the more Marshall vibe one. And then what happened was I got the opportunity to get a Carr head. And I can tell you exactly which head I got because I can probably look it up on my Reverb sales when I sold it. But I never had seen, well, not never, I hadn't actually, I guess never. I never saw a Carr head. You know, always they were in combos. And this was a Carr head with reverb. And I was like, oh, this is the amp for me, because at the time I was stacking them in racks. You know, if you guys remember, I had racks and racks of amps. And I did that. And then I got rid of it because what I learned about the racks for me is it becomes a showpiece. You just like, I told you guys, I'm not plugging into a switcher and switching between 20 amps. I'll just sit there and switch amps all day, you know, and not focus on what I care about, which is playing. So I sold it. And I'm just looking to see if I can quickly pull it up and share with you which one, what it was. And we'll see. I'll go one more page. The problem with my Reverb store is I sold off about 100 guitar pickups. When I did that, it really loaded up my page. So it looks like I've sold a gazillion things because I did in pickups. I don't see it. One more page, just because I feel like I keep thinking one more. Oh, okay, this might be it. Right around here. Because I feel, yep, that's when I sold my 2-Rock. Because I sold my 2-Rock for my Amplified Nation amp. And, I know I sold them around the same time. But, oh, there it is. Okay. Here's the one. I don't regret getting rid of it. This was it. This is the one I sold. This is my Mercury V16. So it was the V16, which was voiced. This one was really good. I really liked it. But for some reason, even though I've owned 3, my favorite was my first one, which is the Mercury 8. So and I think that was a 10-inch speaker, right? Something like that. And a 8-inch, 8 watts. May have been a 12-inch. But it's really cool. Love Carrs. They're great. Great amps. Super expensive, obviously. It's one of those things. If it's not great, there's a problem because they're freaking expensive. Okay. Let's refresh this. This is making me nervous. We have, I don't even, Misery Me. That's my Misery Me, Mrs. Mama, hey. All right, it says, hey, need packing tips to ship solid electrics from the US to Europe. 8 weeks in the container across the ocean. They'll be in cases and gig bags, cardboard boxes. I don't know. I've never shipped them. That, you know, I would double box everything. Every single thing I've shipped gets just, if it makes it, it's like, I don't know how it did it. It's like they're just trying to destroy it. I would double box everything in a case or not, pack the hell out of it. The only advice I have for you is, if you think you packed it enough, pack it a little bit more. There's just, do not take any chances. And if anything, it makes you second guess yourself, like, it's good. But you're thinking just more. And don't be stingy. At this point, I shipped a guitar that was valuable to somebody 2 weeks ago, and I put it in a box, and I put it in a giant box, and the shipping added like $30 more than it already was, just for the box being an extra like 5 inches longer and an inch deeper to put that box in. And I was like, nope, I'm doing it. Don't be cheap with the shipping. At this point, you can't be cheap. It's if you have value, if you have valuable guitars, don't be cheap. It's just, in fact, you know what? Can I show you guys something? Can I pause the show for a second? I'm going to play you an ad and I'm going to grab something, okay? Here we go. If you're learning something or having a good time, don't forget you can subscribe for free and help this channel. Or for $10 a month, you can join me on Patreon for live clinics where you can ask questions every single week. Okay, I'm back. All right. So behind me, misery me, is an crazy expensive Herman Lee guitar that was in a gig bag. No, it's in a case. Sorry, it came in a case. And I told you guys, I asked PRS if I could buy it. They agreed to let me buy the Herman Lee guitar because I'm an idiot. Not because of buying the Herman Lee guitar, just because I'm buying stuff that's crazy like that. But I didn't until I knew for sure, because I didn't want to fall in more love with it. I kind of wanted to, out of sight, out of mind. I put it back in the case, back in the box. So once Shauna said, yes, they're going to sell it to you, I'm like, cool. I'm going to get out of the box. Here's the box. Here's a dude's footprint. Somebody stepped on this guitar. They stepped on it. I mean, that's right. That's nuts. So, yeah. Put that there. You're going to be seeing a box the rest of the show. I mean, that's not like they dropped it. It could be they kicked it. That's not even the whole print, but you can see the back of the print, right? Somebody stepped on the Herman Lee. Think about this for a second. I want you to think about it. It was in a case, okay? But right? Single boxed. So it's cased in that box. It did not come to me double boxed, obviously. That's the box the case was in. Could you imagine? Thank goodness Herman Lee smacks him and hits him, and right? That's crazy. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, picture from now on, they're going to step on your stuff and then prepare it for that. So there you go. I thought I'd share that with you. All right, this one's from Dan. Dan says, hey, is there a difference between a normal powered PA speaker and FR cab? Happy Maraca Day. Happy birthday, Amanda. America. This is the George Bush America thing. America. Yeah, forever he ruined that, right? It's America. I know, we all do it. America. It's like, it's stuck in her head forever. Okay, so is there a difference? Technically, I don't know the absolute answer. In the construction, they're very similar. They probably both have like a Class D power amp. They're probably both, unless the PA speaker has built-in EQing, which usually, we're thinking no. I don't know. I would imagine a lot of the differences in maybe the FR does not have a horn in it, because a lot of PA speakers will have essentially a speaker and a horn. I have used PA speakers for my modelers and liked it as much as I have an FR. So to me, an FR cabinet is essentially a small one-piece PA speaker. But I have used all three things. I've used PA speakers, I've used studio monitors, and I've used FR cabinets for my modelers, and have found no dramatic difference in the sound quality that I was like, at any point did I say, oh no, the FR is far better than the others. It was just, utility issues, like the studio speakers aren't portable, but the PA, if you're not running through a PA, there's no reason to bring a whole PA. So Litbay says, hey, Phil, is Amanda's birthday always the day after Independence Day. Happy 4th and 5th, everyone. I would imagine so, right? It's the 5th of July. I don't think it rotates. I don't think, the dates don't change. So she's always the day after Independence Day. Christian says, hey, Phil, if a famous guitarist asked you to tour with him and be their guitar tech, would you do it? No. No. It really comes down to, one of my favorite stories ever by far is Tim Pierce explaining how he became a studio musician. He's told it publicly many times. I've heard him say the story publicly, and then me and him had a personal conversation about it. And it was more direct and less polished, as you would when you're talking to a bigger group of people. And I can tell you the takeaway I got from that. So basically, if you don't know the Tim Pierce story, it went like this. He was like, obviously a masterful guitar player. He wants to play. And he's like, I'm looking for gigs. And he goes, but I don't want to work nights and weekends. He's like, I don't want to be gone. I don't want to leave. I don't want to tour. I don't want to work nights, and I don't want to work weekends. And they said, well, then you're not going to be a guitar player. And he's like, well, I want to be a guitar player, but I don't want to work nights and weekends and tour. And so he figured out one day, he's like, well, what about studio guys? They probably work normal hours. And he's like, yeah, you work nights, but not every night, and you don't work a weekend, but you don't work every weekend. So, and you don't travel that much. And so he did that for many years, as you know, and then eventually when he got the demand, he has most people come to him now. Like, they go to his space station, as he calls it, basically. And he does their tracks. I would say I'm kind of the same thing. Like, I didn't want to tour, whether I'm a guitar player, a bass player, especially a bass player. I didn't want to tour as a guitar tech. I don't want to tour. And I don't want to work nights and weekends. Well, I work weekends, so not nights. Because I work, my workload, the way I work is 7 days a week. But, which I learned from Tim Pierce, working 7 days a week, half days. I work a half day every single day, and then some days full days. But as Tim Pierce taught me that a few years back, and it works perfectly. I was asking him about work-life balance and getting stuff done, and he told me he works every single day. And it works for me. It's great. So same thing with me. I like this. I mean, this to me, so, part of the appeal, what people don't understand is, when I started this channel, which I started in 2017, when I say I started it, before 2017, I was just throwing content out there. You hear this a lot from channels, and then I decided I'm going to do this, right? At some point, the demand for what you do gets high enough. There's a person waiting for you to make a video. So you're like, oh, well, the more videos I make, the more I'll get people to watch. And that's how it works. In 2017, when I decided to do this, one of the appeals to me, the biggest appeal was I could spend time with my kids. Remember, I'd spent for 13 years, I had worked 6 days a week, open, close at the store. And so I got Sunday off. And sometimes I'd have to do stuff at the store too on Sundays, but I usually took Sunday off for the kids. And so I always left the store I've been to every one of my daughter's recitals. I went to see my son if he did sports or if he did anything. I went and saw whatever they did. We took him to the movies. So I would have people cover me and I could leave for the store. But you got to understand, all my memories and all my kids' memories of me being in their events is I was there, I showed up on time, and the second was over, I left. So when they would go with Shauna and the grandparents to go out to eat, I left, and Shauna had to work an insane amount of hours at the store. So to me, YouTube was all of a sudden I can spend time with my kids. So even though my kids were at the tail end of it, right? So in 2017, the last few years that you get with your kids, I got them because of YouTube. So a lot of people have a lot of opinions about this, oh, you do it for a free guitar, you do it for this. That was a huge focus for me. The idea that if I could survive and be around music, which is what the store got me to be around, being around guitars, being around music. If I could do that, but then also have time with my kids, that was like a miracle. So I took the opportunity. In fact, I could almost argue, I will argue, that if that wasn't the thing that came with YouTube, I would have never been insane enough to think YouTube was a thing. I'm not even sure YouTube's a thing now. I'm not even convinced it's a viable living doing it for 8-9 years, however long I've been doing it. I don't even know. So anyways, you can understand. So that's the thing. So same thing with touring. Now my kids, of course, they're out of the house. Would I do it? No, I don't want to tour. So I already have to travel too much now. I'm traveling twice in the next 30 days. So the answer is no. And if you want to change this the question to what if it was my favorite guitar player in the whole world, I still wouldn't do it. No, I like what I'm doing now. It feels good to me. I like it works. I like figuring out how to teach somebody something. It's really cool. If I can, even though I don't even know how I got that opportunity through all this mess, but doing it has been making me very happy. Seth says, happy 4th, Phil. Recently migrated from pedal train to the Holy Boards and have some extra spaces on the board. Any fun toy pedals you would recommend to fill the gap? Funny with Phil with my name. Already have a delay tuner, gain and looper, etc. What I will tell you is we talk about prices going up all the time and the market and everything. But one thing I will tell you is the sales are real this weekend. They are outselling the company. So, and pedals have been hurting. Pedals are hurting, man. That's where it's hurting the most, I think. When I see it out there now, when I mean the most, but I'm like by category, pedals seem to be percentage-wise hurting the most, which is pretty tough to say with amps because amps have been hurting for a long time. But so I would say, what I would use is this opportunity, because here's what's probably going to happen. Okay, I want you to say, and if you want to hate me later, I'm okay, Seth. Okay, so Seth, thank you for the super chat. It was a huge super chat. I appreciate that. So for that, I'm going to tell you something that it's a little nervous for me to say because I could be wrong. And so I'll start it with, I could be totally wrong. I'm going to give you my guess. And here's my guess. Right now, we're sitting in the eye of a storm, right? And that eye is the fact that you have manufacturers, we have a slowdown, so people are not buying, okay? We're just talking guitar communities, okay? I don't want to care about the car market and shoes and all that stuff. I'm just talking about food and stuff. I'm talking about guitars. So you have a market, they've slowed down. We've slowed down buying stuff. And they want to maintain sales, obviously, because as I told you, a lot of companies grew during the boom and they don't want to let people go. They don't want to shrink. They don't want to do that. So we have a unique opportunity, and this is from hours of discussion with at least a dozen companies in the last 2-3 months, okay, that don't know each other. So you understand, I was talking to Music Man Guitars this week, one of the companies, and that came up, and one of the things that came up was like my comment when I'm like the guy who's dating all the girls. I'm the guy who's interacting with all the companies, and I'm like, wow, that story is familiar to this story. That story is not like this story. What I'm telling you is there's a lot of familiar themes and a lot of the stories that are being discussed right now in the guitar community of manufacturing, which is they don't want to slow down, right? They want to keep pushing the product, and because they have product they got to sell. 2, they have employees who want to keep going. They want to keep things going. And there's price increases hitting them left and right, okay, which has been consistent for the last 6 years, but it's just, obviously there's new things now. We got the tariffs and all that other stuff. So there's uncertainty, as there's been for the last 6 years. And what I think is going to happen is they're going to give us the deals now. So you're going to see the 20% offs, the 30% offs, whatever that is, the legit deals. And then you're going to see, once inventory lines go and they replenish with more expensive inventory, and they either have to finally either adjust their employee levels, or, which is horrible to say, or adjust their business model, prices will come back. They'll come up. They're going to go higher. I don't think it'll come down to where they were. I think they're going to go higher. So if you're paying $200 for a pedal, you're going to pay $225. And right now they're offering you a pedal for $150. So what I'm saying is right now is a good time to, if there's a piece of gear you need or want, need is really a silly thing to say in this world, but I want. I'm not talking about just buying, and don't buy stuff like to invest. That's just stupid as hell. I'm going to buy a pedal and then in a year I'll sell it for more. Like don't think like that. What I'm saying is if you've been thinking about getting something, maybe take that chance and get that thing now if it's a good deal and you truly want it, because I don't think it's going to stick. And the caveat to that is, even though there's an avalanche of used gear out there, and even though the market's slowing, people are still buying. So again, it'll still attrition. In other words, people are still buying at a rate to where even if people go, oh, these prices will keep going down, I'm like, nope. At some time, the inventory does level to the demand, right? But right now, I think we're low demand and high inventory. I don't know why I'm doing this way. High inventory with low demand. And then I think eventually it'll hit like this again. And I don't know. That's my theory. So I would say go out there and look at those sales this weekend. And by the way, I think there'll be more sales for another weekend or two or whatever. You know, there's still going to be sales. I'm not talking about when I'm saying this, I'm not telling you the eye of the storm's like a week. This might go on till fourth quarter. Maybe that's when they'll resettle and restuff. There's a lot of companies also saying the same things. And those things they're getting deliveries in August. A lot of companies seem to have a lot of deliveries coming in August. And those deliveries seem to all be more expensive. So I would anticipate seeing pricing come up September, which is when people start wanting to get in the mood to buy again. So fourth quarter. So it'll be fourth quarter desires with higher prices is a theory. Now keep in mind the thing that can jack that up from my whole, this whole theory is if demand keeps dropping. Because if demand keeps dropping, it won't matter. The product has to move. So that's just my 2 cents. Speaking of selling stuff, let's do Guitar of the Week.
Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
Okay, so here's what's going on with Guitar of the Week. For the month of July, every Guitar of the Week is for sale and an additional guitar. And so how did this work? Well, Sweetwater sent me a list of things and said, hey, you want to do some promotion stuff, right? And I was like, no. And we talked about their gear exchange. And I said, hey, how about I do gear exchange, but not as a video? Because I did a video where I tried gear exchange, where I bought something and sold something and I shared that experience with you. I thought, why don't I just sell some of my gear on gear exchange? And why don't you subsidize it? So what they did is they gave me, well, they haven't given it to me. At the end of the month, Sweetwater will pay me millions of dollars. Don't worry. Wait, enough to finance the channel for the next 20 years. Anyways, they're going to pay me enough to pay for the cardboard, the boxes. So we bought all new boxes. We ordered on Amazon. I guess they come in 5s at a time. Bubble wrap. We got to get the bubble wrap, all this stuff. We're going to try to use some of the boxes we have too. And we're listing the stuff. But also what I did is I took some of the finances from that and I'm subsidizing you guys. So I'm not charging shipping and I put more reasonable prices on the product. So it will go, because this is all stuff that has to go. It just has to go. Okay. So I'm going to show you should I show you the Guitar of the Week first? Yeah, I'll show you the Guitar of the Week first. Okay, so Guitar of the Week is a 1995 American Strat. Ooh, in metallic red. Ooh, 1995. You remember I did a video with this where I bought a collection, somebody's collection, and this one of the guitars has a matching painted headstock, right? It's an American-made, USA-made Strat. It has standard USA tuners, has this skunk stripe in the back. I like it when they put the big Fender logo right there on the back plate. Micro tilt. This is a 90s Strat, so if you're not familiar, the edges are not as rounded. They're not like the old rounded edges. See how it's a little harsher edge? It's probably hard to tell, but I want you to take notice that. There is this weird, it's not like a ding. It's almost like it's worn off, but you can see. Now, by the way, I took high-res pictures. Here, let me share it here. I took high-res picture listing. Whoa, look at that mark. There you go. That was the only chip I could find. And it's old because it's the wood is discolored. So when you're looking at chips and dings, always look to see how, kind of like the fretboard and stuff, or the wood. Look how yellowed or non-yellowed the wood is. So obviously it happened a while ago. And weight-wise, I didn't weigh it. Weight-wise, it's in the 7-pound range. It's light. It's not heavy, that's for sure. And as far as I know, it's all original. The pickguard has yellowed a little. Okay, I'm going to offer for no charge but you got to put it in the request if you're the one that buys it. I have a white pickguard that I can put on there. It's an original Fender product pickguard. It's got the stamp on the back, so it's an actual Fender part. I'll put the white one on there and include this one in the case as well. But I will not change out the back one, so your back one will be yellowed. Okay, and then it has the original case. The neck is it kind of weirds me out. This is exactly a 1960s neck. It's thin as hell, super thin. I would say the thinnest Fender neck I've ever played. Isn't that crazy? So, and the action's really low. Okay, so let's play it. So, what am I on? Oh, let's go to clean. So what am I running through? Let's talk about that. Let me back up, switch cameras. We'll give you a little taste of the sound. I don't know if it's in tune, because I made the decision for this one last minute. So it's not in tune. Okay, there we go. All right, let's switch cameras. There's a side cam. Let's turn on the guitar so you can hear it. What am I running through? I'm running through a Engl Steve Morse amp just because it was easy to set up quickly. I start on the neck and middle pickup. I'm running the amp clean. It's running through a 112 cabinet with a Redback Celestion, and I got a E609 Sennheiser mic on it. And we'll go here. And I think you can tell in this view. Do you see what I'm saying about the Fender having the Fenders from these years, the 90s, having these not as rounded corners, right? It's a little, almost like the top feels really flat. So let's go back. This is your position, bridge and middle. Okay, now what I want to do is give you some gain. So I'm switching over to the high gain channel, and we'll go to the neck pickup. Well, neck and middle maybe. It's kind of making me laugh. It's a lot of gain. Okay, I'll switch over here. That was on the bridge, so that's why there was a little 60 cycle hum with that. Little shout out to the 60 cycle hum channel for that, huh? It's good. It's a good name. Every time you get a little 60 cycle hum, you're doing a shout. Could you imagine every time somebody's like, "Oh, I got a single coil. I got to know your gear going on right now." That's smart marketing. Anyways, so that's it. The case, let me show you. I can show you the listing. It's in the description. So I will show you two things because I thought it'd be part of this is the experience to share with you guys. Okay, so let's go to the web. Here is the website. All right, so we have two guitars listed. Every week I'll be listing two guitars. Both guitars have something in common. One guitar is from the guitar of the week, so you get to see it live right now. And the other guitars listed is from a deep dive. So what you're looking at is the two guitars for this week is the Parker PM20 from the guitar of the week, and this used Fender 1995 USA Strat that is currently on guitar of the week. Now, what do you get? Something to show you guys. Share a little. See, that's a better picture of the oopsies on there, which is the only one I could find. Okay. And then if we keep going, oh, there's the case. So it's the old style case. And the case has, can we keep going? I took a lot of pictures. There's the serial number. Does it not have a picture of the case? Do they cap me at pictures? They might have capped us at pictures because I had a picture of the case. The case has, I'll show it to you though. Let's go back here. So we'll just do it old school. So the case is right here. So the case has scuffs and stuff on it, but more importantly, it has damage inside. The damage is this compartment. Let me open it here. When you open this flap, it's all cracked. See? I mean, you could probably tape it up and glue it. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. One of those things. It's the original case. Now let's talk about this. And this is part of the way we do this. I've told you guys since the podcast is sponsored by patrons and channel members, anytime we have a company interact, it's to benefit the community, is really the focus. I mean, sure, the benefit to me is I'm going to try to sell my stuff, and there's always a benefit to me, but the benefit isn't solely like, hey, pay me some money and I'll just shout out your stuff. It's always some kind of like, benefit to you guys. What I want to share with you is I have not looked, so I got to be clear. I have not looked. 1995 Fender Strat matching headstock. Okay, because I believe this guitar has a specific name and model number. And let's try this. See if we can find it. I probably should just... Let's see if we can find one. I was able to find this guitar when I first bought it. Here, I'll switch you guys. Look. So I'm looking now. That's made in Mexico. Rosewood. Because I thought when I looked last, and that's why I'm saying I don't really have a clear remember. I thought I had seen one for sale. I thought somebody was asking 13 or 12 for it. So I'm not seeing it. Might have sold already. Let's go to all filters. Let's try to find one that is sold. Show only, sold. Because I know I saw one. It's red. It will pop out. Dakota Red. That's made in Mexico. And... Let me see. I should be looking at the comment section because probably somebody's telling me the answer right now. Okay, hold on. Let's look at this one. And I believe this is it. So this is the guitar. So they sold it for $16. $19.95 Fender American Standard Stratocaster Candy Apple Red matching headstock. True icon. It's a true icon. This is the same guitar. You can see same bridge. It's a screw-in bridge. It's not a push-in bridge, even though it looks modern. Their pickguard is very shiny and white. Obviously, this has been aged. When I say aged, it's just the sun bleached it out over time. And this condition looks better. I can just look at it from here and see the condition of this guitar. Same case. You can see it says same case. Looks better. So what we did, go back here. What I did for this interaction with Sweetwater, because look, their promotion is we're talking about Gear Page, our Gear Exchange. We tagged it for $1,098. That's including the shipping. Of course, you have to pay sales tax, but that's a much better deal. And then, like I said, I'll give you the other pick guard. I'll swap it out if you want. I can make it all white. I can make it look like the other one and send you the original stuff too, so you have it with Fender certified parts. Because I have piles and remember I was a Fender certified tech. I have piles and piles of Fender certified parts. I probably have about 30 or 40 in-bag 5-way switches, Fender 5-way switches. Because I bought all this certified Fender parts when I was doing that stuff. And so Vim says $1,098 is fair price. We thought so. Just like with the Parker, we priced the Parker, I think at what, $560 So I can tell you this. This is to give you a reference, just so you guys are aware. Because again, it's with trust but verify, right? So we marked the Parker from the deep dive video at 578. Now, since doing the deep dive video, and it says that here, I did polish the frets. The frets were a little crusty in the video, and they were a little worn because the guitar is 20 years old. So I did polish them up, and I did restring it and make sure it was fine. So it's a little better condition than I said in the deep dive, just so you know. But I don't know why it's doing that. It doesn't like me sharing the internet with you anymore. Let's refresh that. Okay, go back. So 578. So for reference, and I probably need to take down some of these tabs because I'm going to crash my internet with too many things going on. Let's go and then we'll move on. But I want to show you one last thing. Go to menu, go to orders. Nope. Go to purchases. I bought that. I bought it for $549, but then added shipping, and with tax, I paid $675. They threw in this crappy gig bag. They said gig bag, but trust me, it was like moldy, and it was like, well, not moldy, it was just gross. And it's a base gig bag. They don't really see, because look how they cut it off right there. But right, see, it's like you don't even notice, but it actually goes out like far. So anyways, I gave that gig bag away. So I put the guitar at a better price. So whoever buys that will be buying it for a better price than I paid for it. So that's what we did. We list them. You guys if you're interested, you can check them out. If not, no problem. We'll list 2 every week for the whole month. And I want to tell you, I don't do anything without planning. Okay, so even though I told you guys I was going to start this week, I actually started last week because I wanted to. I wanted to know. I don't like to guess. So I sold 2 guitars. For those that were following the links, both were subscriber. Well, I think one was a subscriber, one wasn't. Anyways, they bought the 2 guitars that I listed. And one of my patrons said the funniest thing ever, and I love it. I'm going to share with you guys. They said they were like an ad, like a marketing thing. They were like, Guitar Center, use Guitar Center. The biggest, biggest independent used platform, in the country. Reverb, the largest database of used gear, period. Gear Exchange, yeah, we do use too. And I thought that was funny. And I'll tell you, since selling some stuff on Gear Exchange and checking out Gear Exchange, I've really come to this conclusion for right now. I think when you're looking at used gear to sell or buy, you should really consider, or buying, I think you should really consider Guitar Center's used gear, which is where I bought the last 3 used guitars I bought, especially for the channel. Reverb, which I mostly buy only new stuff on Reverb because I'm so sick of everyone just being so delusional in what they list, how they describe stuff to what I get. And Gear Exchange, what I can tell you on Gear Exchange is I don't think the prices are better than Reverb. I don't find better prices. There's definitely not as much equipment on there. So it's just not even close to the Reverb platform. However, my interactions on Gear Exchange remind me of exactly what Reverb was like when Reverb took off in the first place. And all of a sudden you were used to eBay, but you'd go to Reverb and Reverb everybody would list stuff for more. You'd be like $400 on Reverb, but you're like, I can get it for $350 on eBay. But you'd go to Reverb and all of a sudden it was like a musician talking to you instead of like some guy going, I don't know, it's my cousin's Strat. He said, just sell it, right? eBay was always this, wonky experience where I thought Reverb felt a little bit more higher level, like community-wise. And then I don't feel that anymore when I deal with Reverb. What I feel now is I feel like it's eBay. It's somebody, you know what it is? It's not people. That's what it is. I just figured it out. No, you know what it is? We have these, I don't want to say professional because that's just too nice of a word to use. We have these flippers. They're just, everyone's flipping stuff. Everybody's just, I don't mean we're all flipping stuff. We buy it, I try it out, we flip it. I'm talking about people like, they're just combing the world just to buy more crap. They're like unlicensed music stores just out there selling, right? And I'm not digging at them, but I'm just kind of just saying like some are much better than others. Let's just say that. So if you're one of those people who are buying and selling on Reverb to make a living, I'm only talking to you if you're a shitbag. Right? So don't get all riled up. Like, out there are bad ones. There are people where I'm looking at stuff and I buy stuff, and every once in a while, this is what happens. I get something on Reverb and I go, it oozes out of the product when you open it up. You're like, this guy was just flipping stuff. He didn't look at it. He didn't care. He didn't own it. He didn't play it. He just flipped it, right? He walked into a pawn shop or a music store and said, oh man, these are going for $300 on Reverb. I'll buy it for, this $150 and flip it. So there's flipping stuff. And on Gear Exchange, I think because it's such a small thing comparatively, and it's just not there yet, I feel like the interactions were legitimate people trying to buy and legitimate people trying to sell. Just less chaos, same with Craigslist. Like Craigslist used to be and I bought something recently on Craigslist too. Like I said, you have to use everything is what I'm trying to say. Use all the platforms. If I'm looking for something that I'm very not certain about, I can tell you right now, I have a ritual now. If I'm looking at a guitar, I'm just not sure. I don't know what I'm going to be getting. In fact, let me tell you what happened so you guys know. Okay. Do I have the phone? And I don't have the pictures. So you guys saw, I did the silver tone Sears guitar this week. So let me tell you the story with that guitar. So I wanted to buy, I had the coffee with Phil with the patrons, and I said, hey, I'm looking for guitars to do deep dives with that are outside just the typical like brands that keep working with me, and of course I can only buy stuff that I like. So after a while, like it's like, man, he's just reviewing the same things. Well, I like the same things. And so we came up with some ideas, and one of the guitars we came up was like, what about an old Silvertone? What about going back to like beginner's guitars from the 60s? And so we were looking at them, and they were all over the price, all over the place for price, and with a case and amp, and I'm like, and you're adding the problem, and now you have a tube amp and a case. And so I was looking online, and I found one for $699, which was a way better deal. If you notice, the prices I posted from Reverb on that video were way higher than mine. Everybody was asking $800 to $1,000. I found Guitar Center had listed it used for $699. I didn't reach out to Guitar Center. I could have reached out and said, hey guys, you want to help co-sponsor this? Make me a deal or something. I was like, no, you know what? We're going to do the independent video. I already said I'd do that. Let's do this. I bought it for $699. If you watch that video, I show you there's a big smash part in the case, and there's other things. There was a bunch of things wrong that were not described by Guitar Center. And so Guitar Center, I let them know, like, hey, just so you guys know, I got this, and that wasn't in the pictures. And they were really cool. They were like, they looked and they go, yep, you're right. That wasn't in the pictures. We should have caught that. There was two presented solutions to me. They were like, you can just return it, get a full refund, including my shipping, everything back. Or they go, we'll fix it. We'll send it to a tech. Now, because most of the damage was physical, there was no way to really fix that. So I said, okay, you know what? And I know enough to know that when they relist it, they'll probably might list it lower now because of the damage. So I go, okay, no, I'm okay. I'll move on. And they're okay. So I was protected. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes I go through Guitar Center used because I think, okay, there's protection there if I get something that's wacky. I go to Reverb when I'm trying to deal with small music stores. That's where I find all my mom and pop music stores is on Reverb. I find I have most at least good experiences that way. And I think Gear Exchange is somewhere to maybe you should list stuff on Gear Exchange and Reverb, and hope it sells on Gear Exchange, because I think so far my experiences with Gear Exchange have reminded me of what it was like on Reverb. And the problem though is it's going to be a lot harder to sell on Gear Exchange, and you're going to probably have to lower your price a little bit more. If you really want to sell on Gear Exchange, I think you have to lower your price because there's just not as many people, and because there's not as many eyeballs, the conversion rate is much lower, which means you're going to have to really get this smaller amount of people looking at your stuff to buy. And so that's it. So think of this, the put your money where your mouth is. That's what I did. I lowered the prices. So I don't know. Other thing is nice is Gear Exchange did something that I thought was really cool. Reverb, when when your item gets delivered, you can look and see it's delivered. But Gear Exchange sends me a little picture saying, hey, it was almost like a DoorDash, like, hey, it was delivered. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I thought that was cool. All right. Okay. Let's see. What else are we going to do? We're going to go talk about some other stuff. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to this section right here. We have Rich, who says, okay, now I'm curious. What are the downsides of the Steve Morse amp? Well, the downsides are really three things. I just made up the number 3. Now I'll see if I can come up with 3. That's fair, right? 3 things. The biggest issue with the amp is it has a dark side to the distortion side. So because the amp has to share the EQ, okay, and it's one of the problems when you have an amp that's so dramatically different in tonality, like clean to heavy to gain, when you share the EQ minus all the other features, you find that when I get the clean channel exactly where I like it, okay, the dirty channel is just a little too dark. It's just a little too dark. So I have to like almost balance, right, the clean channel to the point where it's like, okay, the clean channel is just, it's just the ever so little more bright than I want it to be, and then the dirty channel sounds great. So it's like, but let me explain. With a built-in delay, built-in reverb, built-in noise gate, built-in mid boost, built-in clean boost, I have the MIDI foot switch. That's what I'm controlling right now. Powered MIDI switch. So I have a MIDI switch that's powered by the thing. So it's just like having a foot switch. An attenuator in it. I'm okay with that. Like, that's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't get the perfect gain channel and I don't get the perfect clean channel. I get something that's approximately what I like. In other words, the Steve Morse is not my favorite clean channel. It's not my favorite gain channel, but it's 2 channels I really, really like and I can use. So that's the one downside. The other downside is, what else? I guess a couple months ago, I'd probably tell you that I really wish the foot switch did more, than it does. But I had to buy the MIDI switch. Okay, so that's the downside. The MIDI switch was like, I bought the Engl one, it was like $300. So when you add $1,400 or $1,500 to $300, now you're talking about an amp that's, it's $1,800, $1,900. You're talking about $2,000 amp. So that's a downside. It's very expensive, especially when you add in the foot switch. But it's all made in Germany with Chinese parts, but it's made in Germany. So whatever that means. And I don't know. That's it. If in a perfect world, in a perfect world, they would come out with another version that has 2 independent EQ, like stacked EQs knobs, and each channel would have its own EQ. And then I think it'd be like impossible to beat. But the amount of stuff in it, I'm almost, not quite, almost ready to sell my Mason Boogie Mark 525 because it just sits and it doesn't get used. I like the Steve Morse more, but I'm not sure yet. But I'm pretty sure, but I'm not there yet. Okay. A United Effect says, hey, Phil, I started changing strings on a headless with Hipshot hardware and the low E jammed up. Won't tune up to pitch. Any fix that you know of? So you're talking about when the ball end gets stuck in there? Yeah, it's a big pain in the ass. It's a bridge of pain in the ass. That's the downfall of headless guitars. It's like they come with the same situation a Floyd Rose does. They're not nearly as problematic as Floyd's can be sometimes, but if you have the Hipshot bridge, I would suggest getting the new Hipshot saddles. I don't know if you have the Kiesel one or just a Hipshot from other brand, but I think even though the saddles were for Kiesel, I think you can contact Hipshot or just get the Kiesel ones and use it on your Hipshot bridge. Once you get that fixed, it's amazing, right? Just go with that. But to get it out of there, I don't know. I usually I've had the same problem. I've had to fish them out. I have these really tiny needle nose pliers that lets me get into things. So I don't know if you have something like that. I can just tell you this. If it's jammed in there, it's going to come out. If it doesn't come out, you have to take the bridge off. It's a big pain in the ass, but it should come out. You're just going to have to work it out. You just like kind of massage it out. The good news is I've had them stick in there too. It's one of the things I hate. That's why I leave it alone. Luckily, I've only changed all my headless guitars. I've changed the strings maybe one time each because it's like once I do it, I go, okay, that's going to stay on there for a while. and that's fine for me. Clan Housecat says, hey, of course, the shark has rubber teeth, 10 by 10 movie. Yes, it does. And Richie says, hey, carpal tunnel surgery on your fret hand. Anyone? How is your recovery? I don't know. Has anyone had carpal tunnel surgery on their fretting hand? And how was the recovery on that? Let us know. Right? I'm really curious. I have not had any I've never had a surgery at all, I don't think. It's one of those things like I don't think so. So I mean, I guess the answer is no if I can't remember. Okay, let's see. How weird is this? I have a super chat here, but not on the other side. Let me refresh this screen. Sometimes they get trapped up. Just checking my timeline, make sure. This is from Nick. Says happy 4th from the UK. Thank you. I appreciate that. It says used early 2000 USA Strat or a mid 2010s Road Worn made Mexico Strat. I have a 90s made Mexico Strat. I think the Road Worn would be cool and different. So my 2 cents on that is, as someone who really likes the Road Worn Strats, except for I did not get on with those 7 1/4 inch radius fretboards. Now, I don't know, because I don't remember if they ever did a series of Road Worns after that didn't have the 7 1/4 inch radius fretboards. Every Road Worn Strat that I worked on or played, I really enjoyed it. I loved everything about it, to the point where you're at, where I'm like, man, I could definitely have this instead of my USA Strat. But every single one, I just couldn't get the action. I couldn't get the 7 1/4 to feel the way I want it to feel. I said this before when the John Mayer Strat came out. The John Mayer Strat. The John Mayer Silver Sky. Don't confuse that. You get your trademarks, confused. The John Mayer Silver Sky, when it came out and it was 7 1/4, I said it, I think, in that video as well, which is when 7 1/4 inch radius fretboards, when they're perfect, when life is great and the guitar systems are great, they're some of the best feeling necks I've ever played. But when they're not, they're just horrible. They're just feels like the high E to me. It feels like a cheese slicer. It feels right. It's like, hey, because you got to keep the high E so high so it doesn't fret out when you bend up. So that's what I would consider. Make sure that the Road Worn you're looking at doesn't have the 7 1/4 inch radius, and if it does, you need to make sure that you like that before you go that way. That's the only difference. Other than that, and if that's a factor for you, go with the early 2000s Strat. Okay, let's see what Amanda sent us. She sent us wait. I don't know. I don't understand the question. Okay. It says, okay, this one's from Mike. It says, hey, happy Independence Day. Would you ever consider reviewing the PRS SE NF3? Did I not do that? I just bought one. Do I not have that? I have to admit, a lot of you guys ask questions. You're like, hey, would you ever try out this guitar? And I'm like, I did that. I think it's because you got to understand the way the algorithms work, the way it all works is you don't always get notified of everything. So, not everything. So, but the way we do it is if you type in my name in YouTube, Philip McKnight, and what you want, it doesn't matter if the title is that or not. It will come up. So according to this, I have not done a PRS NF3. I would have swore I did. Hold on a second. Wait. Nope. I don't know how I didn't do that. So for some reason, they didn't send me one. Usually PRS sends me everything. But there was a time when, again, they don't hit me up. I will tell you this. So Dan, let's answer your question. It says, we'll consider it NF3, really like it. If I haven't had a video of it, then I don't remember seeing the NF3 as the SE. What I can tell you is, if you're thinking about getting a PRS NF3, is I would not buy one till Wednesday. In fact, if you're thinking about getting a PRS SE out there, there's great deals this weekend. And if you really, really want one, and it's the one you want, and you don't think there's another PRS SE that doesn't exist yet that you might want, I would say buy that on the deal. But if you're thinking I will wait till Wednesday. And when I say Wednesday, I mean Tuesday. I'd wait till Tuesday. I'm just, Susan says, I'm pretty sure Phil did that guitar. I'm pretty sure I did too, but we could have took it down. Who knows? I don't know. We don't take very many videos down, but maybe we took it down. I thought I remember doing that guitar. Let's see. I kind of feel like, well, here, you know what I can do? Oh, it came out 4 months ago. I had not done any PRS videos. Oh, no, this is 1 year ago. In F3. Let's do this. While we're here and we have a moment, let me try this if you don't mind. While I also remind you that if you're thinking about getting an SE, I would wait to see if something comes out new and exciting on Tuesday. Okay, so it came out in the last year. So it would be last year that it came out. So we're talking 2024. So let me peruse the 2024s. So in 2024, starting in January, I did the PRS 2408 Core. That was in January. And then next PRS I did was the PRS S2 Satin Custom 24. And then I did the PRS 2408 S2. And the next PRS I did was... Drum roll, please. No, I did not do that guitar. So otherwise it would come up. Because like I said, the way we have the videos tagged up, if you type in what you want in my name, it comes up. So a lot of times you just missed it. But I always tell people, if you type in my name in the search and what the product is, it'll usually pull it 99% of the time. Okay. Eric Walters Smith says, hey, have you ever played the Black Star St. James amplifiers? I did. I played one in a Guitar Center once. Loved it. It was one of those things. What happened was I checked it out. I dug it. And I kind of put it on my radar, but then, I didn't see the opportunity later. So, okay. Let's go to another one. Okay, this is one from Gary Brady. He says, are solid state amps moving in front of tube amps? You mean like sales wise? Well, solid state amps always outsell tube amps just because inexpensive amps tend to be solid state amps and they're always going to outsell by volume. Amps and guitars and pedals all sell by price point, like everything probably in life. So, but anyways, what was I going to say? The important part is that, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I think I'm trying to say that, they outsell tube amps, but it's like, if you mean coming ahead of them or moving in front of them and like being desired by players, I would say no. Modeling technology in the price points, in higher end price points, I think modeling technology is outpacing tube amps. And lower price points, solid state amps always win. As what I think, for sure. Okay. Oh, this one's one we get a lot. This is Jedi Master. Jedi Master says, "Hey, this is from Amanda? By the way, all these are from Amanda Pooled. Says, does leaving your guitars hanging on the wall damage the neck or wear off the finish at all? If you have a wall hanger that does not." I'm trying to think best. How do I put that? If your wall hanger is not rated, I guess is the best way to put it, for nitrocellulose finish, like on what's on Gibsons and now new PRSs and vintage Fenders and stuff like that, It could lacquer burn or could hurt the damage the finish that way. The string swings, I have never had a problem. I've heard a couple of people say they have a problem. Gibson is now selling a stand with the string swing hanger on it and saying it is okay for nitro. So that's the only issue. I've never had a problem from a guitar hanging on the wall, ever. I've never had like a damage or, any negative effect whatsoever. And that's from having them in my store for years and years and years, and then having them here for years and years. I've just never had an issue. I've never, there's no moment where we're like, wow, too bad it was on the hanger. Never had that. And I've never had a nitro burn on any guitar that I've ever sold or guitar that I've ever owned with the string swings. So I highly recommend string swing. There's a lot of choices out there, and I'm sure a lot of them are good. I only use string swing. I'm not paid by string swing. I have no sponsorship deal with them, and I just like them. It's what I used. And funny thing to mention is these string swing hangers are now all officially 20 years old. Now, when I say all, not all. Damn it. See? Damn it. Because I'm just thinking about going, no, I think we had some ones from 2007 mixed in. No, I think we're good. I think on this wall, no, these are all from 2000. No, most of these are from 2007. It's the other room, 2005. So here's the good news, Jedi Master. All these hangers, I have been using them since 2005 and 2007. And all of these were in my first store, then ripped out of the walls. Well, they were, unscrewed, put it in the new store in 2007. And then they were in there until 2017, and then now they've been on these walls since then. So and if you guys have been watching this channel, I've moved them a bunch of times too. They're just as new as the day I started. That's my recommendation. I can't imagine I'm ever going to need to replace them. All right. Jason wants to know if the Katana 100 sounds good at bedroom levels as well as gigging. Yes, absolutely. You can do both. Sure. I had the Katana 100 and it was fine. I prefer the 50 just because it's a smaller footprint and I don't need the bigger, volume and all that stuff. But yeah, no, the 100 would be fine because it's got the power soaking thing and it's, so you can get quiet at any volume. Yeah, there's no problem there. Let's see. Okay, Sean Brooks says, hey, do you think the Silver Sky has moved into the Les Paul zone of signature guitars, i.e. most people who buy it don't care about the artist? Well, it's a good tie into a question. One of the early rise questions, which I grabbed but didn't say, it's not posted here. Somebody was asking about, they were looking at their first signature guitar. I apologize, I don't have your name. She's looking at your first signature, buying a signature artist guitar, and they want to know what my thoughts on that were because there was a lot of people saying how they don't buy signature guitars, and they were saying, is that just because what is that? Why do some people don't like signature guitars? Well, part of it is because, like I said, there wasn't signature guitars for a long, long time. They didn't really exist. I mean, yeah, we had Les Pauls, but for the most part, we didn't have a whole lot of signature guitars for a long period of time because, a lot of artists didn't have a lot of signature guitars. And then essentially a lot of players would hey, that's a poser if you're playing somebody else's guitar. I think one of the downfalls of signature guitars for me when I first started playing and I was looking at signature guitars was, I don't play like Nuno Betancourt, of course, and I don't play like Eddie Van Halen, and I don't play like Steve Vai. I don't play like those players. Those are virtuoso style players, and I don't play like that. And so you get that guitar, and then that's what people think, he's going to play Van Halen stuff. He's going to play amazing, and he's going to play Yngwie stuff, if you're on an Yngwie Strat. I think at this point, I don't think those are kind of gone. I think some people still have hang-ups on that, but I think the hang-up on that is just the same as the hang-up on Relic. If you don't like Relic guitars, if you don't like fancy woodtop guitars, it's a preference at this point. I don't think there's actually real factual basis into not liking a signature guitar. The only negative of a signature guitar I can think of is that usually, you know, it's more expensive because you're paying an artist a royalty, you know, for helping design it or market it, both. But back to the John Mayer guitar, I think I always thought this when it comes to Paul Reed Smith. Their reputation was built on quality. That's how it worked. That's why the SEs are doing so well. Look, a lot of companies make guitars in Cortec factory. Cortec factory is a very nice factory, but doesn't mean every guitar that comes out of the Cortec factory with a brand name on it is all respected equally, right? PRS built a reputation for building good guitars. All the funny notes, you know, dentist, doctor guitars, stuff like that. That's all funny. It's great. We love doing that. Who doesn't like ragging on people with money? Right? It's fun, right? And then one day, here's the thing about that. You think a dentist or a doctor is like, man, they make fun of me because I have nice guitars and a nice car and a nice house and a nice life. Like, no, that's what's great. You get to rag on people who are doing well, and those people tend to take it well because they're doing well. They're like, enjoy your Cheetos and McDonald's. I'm going to go out and have a dinner, you know, right? Like, so my point is that all those are true about PRS, but PRS built its reputation on quality. That's different than Fender and Gibson. They didn't build their reputations that way. They built their reputations other ways. They built it with, you know, obviously history and music, you know, right? Rock stars playing it, blues players playing it, jazz, you know, country, you know, God, think about that. Just everybody you can think of, every genre you can think of is a Fender, is a Gibson and stuff. Lineage, history. And then PRS was like quality. It's just like a brand that was like quality. And so when John Mayer interacted and did the Silver Sky, because if you think about this, look, I can tell you, John Mayer, when he was with Fender, the Strats that came through the store was obviously that metallic green one. Remember, there was like an army green. I forgot the name of the colors, please bear with me, but it was army green. It looked like this olive green that I have now, but it was metallic John Mayer one. We had those. We had this one with the stripe down the side. Remember the one that had a racing stripe, John Mayer one? Then I guess did we have a sunburst one? We had all the John Mayer Strats in the store. We could never sell them. They sold okay. That was not a hot selling artist guitar. In Strats, I can tell you, I had all the Strats, all the artist Strats in the store over the years. Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck always sold well. Eric Johnson always sold well because they're unique. The Jeff Beck neck is a really different, unique U-shaped neck. And it had noiseless pickups, and it just played great. The Eric Johnson, same thing. It's a 50 Strat, but with a 12-inch radius fretboard, and it just played great, and the pickup sounded great. And so certain artists outsold other artists for sure, right, when it comes to Strats. Yngwie, I told you guys, never could sell the Yngwie Strats. It's nothing against the artist. It's just, I'm just telling you who sold and who didn't. So if you would have told me like, oh, John Mayer was the hottest selling Fender artist there was, and then he went to PRS, and you're like, oh, that's math. That makes sense. But that's not how that worked. Same thing I would say with John Petrucci. With Ibanez, he was not the Steve. Look, on Ibanez, it was Steve Vai. Like Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, they all sell guitars. Absolutely, you know, insert your artist. There's a ton of them. Like I like Noodles, right? Noodles from Offspring. You know, tons of great players play Ibanez, but Steve Vai, you know, he's the Babe Ruth of Ibanez. Like Ibanez is the house that Ruth built, that Vai built, right? That's where Ibanez is. And same with Petrucci. He did well with Ibanez, but he was not going to ever be Ruth. He's not Babe Ruth. And when he went to Music Man, bam, he's the Babe Ruth. Music Man Guitars is the house that John Petrucci built. And for some reason, John Mayer did the same thing with PRS. He left Fender, and where he was just another artist with all these other artists. And that I could honestly say, going back, looking at all the guitars we put on the wall, John Mayer's never outsold any other guitar specifically. They did well, but I would say I would definitely give it, I think he even did better than Clapton selling wise, but I definitely think not the hottest selling artist guitar for sure, especially if it wasn't one of the unique colors that got discontinued and stuff like that. So he did well, but it was not what it was when he went to PRS. And why do I think that? I think it's because I think the same thing with Petrucci with Music Man. You know, it's a perfect marriage, right? If you think about it, and maybe Vi, the same thing, because you could say the same thing about the Japanese made Ibanez gems and stuff. You have a person who we respect as a player, and they come together with a brand that we respect for quality, and we think, well, it's got to be good, right? I mean, what are the odds? You know, it's not like either one of their reputations are tattered. It's a perfect it's not like this artist leveled up this brand. There's a little bit of that, or this brand leveled up this artist. It's just a perfect, that makes sense. John Mayer and PRS. And I think that's why the Silver Sky. So to answer your question, is it like at the level Les Paul is? No. I don't think you're actually asking me that. Let's see. Signature guitars, most people who would buy it don't care about the artist. I guess that's what you're saying. It's not that it sells at the level, because it's not even in the same realm. You got to understand, no one is in the realm of Gibson and Fender. They're just all by themselves. Okay. I mean, Music Man, PRS, Sir, Kiesel, Tom Anderson, all those brands, differently, of course, than each other. G&L, Heritage, none of them are in the Fender level. None of them are in the Gibson level of volume of sales. It's just those two companies are in a much different world. Okay, much. But the question he's getting at, Sean's really asking, is like, do I believe that the Silver Skies hit the level of Les Paul where we don't look at it as like a signature guitar, we just buy it because of what it is? I think so. I think that's a good way of looking at it, Sean. I think that makes sense. I could see that logic. 60 Cycles Steve says, it's like Slash with Gibson. Well, the thing about Slash and Gibson is, well, first of all, Slash, so on a side note, Slash saves Gibson, right? That's how that works, right? Because you go to the late 80s, Gibson was about to file bankruptcy. That's like not even they were just not doing well. Neither was Fender, but Gibson was doing really bad. And that's because everybody was buying Super Strats. You got to understand, Eddie Van Halen came out and he's like, hey, everybody, I got a can of spray paint and some guitar parts and I can make a guitar. And everybody's like, you can what? I mean, think about that. Think about any other platform, right? Think about any other platform. Imagine, if you will, and this probably exists, so I'm probably giving an analogy that probably something exists. Imagine you're riding these expensive bikes, right? Like, back in the day, these, in this BMX racing and stuff, these bicycles and stuff, you're riding these really expensive custom bicycles, or, these bikes. And then some kid shows up and he's just got a rat rod equivalent of a bicycle that's all thrown together from Walmart parts, and he crayon spray paints it, red, white, and black. And then he becomes the best bicyclist, BMX racer, or whatever you call it. That's what Eddie Van Halen did. He's like, hey, you're like, everyone else, they're like playing junk, hoping to be a rock star one day so you can get that amazing guitar. And then this rock star is like, I got the junk guitar you guys got. Look at mine. It's not even properly put together or fixed right. And that's really, if you think about it, that is the anti-Gibson, is the Frankenstrat. It's everything that PRS and Gibson holds dear. The Frankenstrat is a finger or two. It's you think, a set neck with, and what the finish matters, you say? Oh, well, how does Krylon spray paint sound, right? Like, right? Oh, the pickups need to be the exact right amount of winds, scatterwound, you said, by right? Oh, I don't even know what pickup I shoved in there last week. I was drinking, right? Like, it puts a finger to the face of everything. And then that goes on. And then, of course, the thing that Eddie Van Halen brought was I have a unique looking instrument though. And then that makes a whole generation immediately go, oh, well, if you want to be the next Van Halen, you better have a guitar that's uniquely yours. So Steve Vai's like, okay, I'll have a guitar that looks like it came from a Swatch factory, like the watches, or like Saved by the Bell. And then, and instead of every artist there like that, right? And Paul Gilbert's like, I'm going to have pink F-holes on my guitars or whatever, and they're all going to do something unique and different. And then Slash, he comes out and he's back to just like, I'm going to play a standard Les Paul. Except for, keep in mind, he doesn't play a real Les Paul. He plays a fake. Everybody knows the Slash stories. He's playing a Chris Derrick guitar, which is a fake Gibson. That's the irony of Gibson, is that Slash is admittedly, to this day, favorite Les Paul out of his entire collection, is a fake Gibson Les Paul. It's Chris Derrick. So that's the irony. I mean, if you think about it this way, it's kind of like, it would be, I'm trying to think of like it'd be like if Steve Vai was playing a Gibson. Nah, that's probably too extreme. It'd be like Steve Vai's playing a fake Ibanez, right? That just, they put an Ibanez on there. But anyways, so my point is that I think Slash did save Gibson for sure, because he brought that concept back, that you could do that again. And then also, I think John Mayer Silver Skies are not at the level yet that we look at Les Pauls as not really being a signature guitar, just a guitar, but it will be. It's definitely their hot guitar. Let's be clear. I said this 2018. Okay, you have to go to. Oh, you know what? So I don't have to guess, and it's into the show. Just let me fact check myself if you guys don't mind. Let me go on here. Like I said, go to search on YouTube. I did a video with a YouTube channel named Marty Schwartz. He was starting to come up back in the day. I think he might make it. Anyways, just kidding. I did this video with him. Is it still up? Oh, all the other videos are up, but at least I can look at the videos and see when it was. Okay, so it was easy. So I found the video. And so it was 5 years ago when we did the video. So 5 years ago. Oh, okay. So that tells you when the Silver Sky came out. That can't be 5 years ago. Let me open this up. Come on, where's the date? And that just says 5 years ago. Oh, November 5th, 2019. Okay, so in November 2019, I did some videos with Marty Schwartz in San Diego. And one of the videos we did was a giveaway for a Silver Sky guitar. And I had just recently came back from the PRS factory. And at the PRS factory, there was just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of Silver Sky. In fact, it looked like PRS should legally have to change its name to, PRJMS, right? Like it has to be the Paul Reed, John Mayer Smith, because it was like every guitar in the factory was a Silver Sky, stacks of Silver Sky body, Silver Sky. I was like, this is insane. This is insane. I took tons of pictures. I was like, I'll have to pull them up and show it to you guys. It was nuts. And the funny part was somebody casually at PRS mentioned to me, like, yeah, the Silver Sky is now officially our second highest selling guitar after the Custom 24. Number 3 was, I guess, the 594. Okay, so in sales. So I didn't really file that in any folders specifically in my head, but fast forward, I'm doing a video with Marty Schwartz on his channel, and we're talking about the Silver Sky and doing the giveaway, and I said, oh, it's like the note. They've sold more. This is the Silver Sky's like their number one selling guitar now. It's like the thing. And after the video came out, Jean, who's at PRS, not anymore, she retired, but she calls me and she says, hey, Phil, just to let you know, hey, no pre-issues, but you said the Silver Sky is like the number one selling guitar, but it's really the Custom 24 and the John Mayer second. And I said, okay, hear me out. The Silver Sky is your second highest selling guitar? And she's like, yeah. And your first selling guitar started in 1985. And the John Mayer is like 2018 or whatever. I go, I think the John Mayer is your number one selling guitar. She's like, no, by sales, it's the Custom 24. I'm like, you understand what I'm saying? And she's like, I get what you're saying, but you understand it's like officially the Custom 24 has more sold than the John Mayer. And I'm like, Right. And we went back and forth. And I go, I understand. I'm ready to agree with you. Except for we got to acknowledge that John Mayer became number 2. You took 30 years. He just came right up against your guitar that's selling for 30 years. I think the Silver Sky is going to be, I think it's going to be the thing. Just like the Steve I Gem is pretty much, like I said, the Ibanez thing. And I think the Petrucci thing is pretty much Music Man's thing for the big part of it. That's just my thought. I don't know. That's my thoughts. Okay, we're going to button this show up. I want to thank Amanda for hanging out with us, even though she should be preparing for her birthday extravaganza. You're all invited. So, I'm just kidding. I want to say happy birthday to Amanda and thank her. I want to thank all the moderators, obviously, every week for taking care of you guys and taking care of the channel, but also for Amanda, because like I said, I'm sure she's got better things to do than watch me talk about boring stuff and watch you guys interact with it. So thank her for doing that. And thank all the moderators for also keeping the flow and everything going. And I want to thank you guys all hanging out. I know it's a holiday weekend. I don't do holiday weekends, so that's why I'm always like, you guys are always like, I wonder if he's doing a show. I always do the shows. I don't take the holidays off. Like I said, my logic is, I told you earlier, I work every day, at least a half a day. So it's like either I work the whole morning until the midday, or I took that. So tomorrow I'm working, and then Sunday I'm working too. But I don't work the whole day, so it's like I get the half days off. It just, in my world, it keeps things moving, and it doesn't make me exhausted. Instead of putting in like 50 hours in 5 days, I can just spread it out. But to the rest of you, enjoy your holidays. I will be enjoying some holiday time tomorrow afternoon. I will be taking some time off and hanging out and doing some stuff. And look forward. Next week is 2 deep dives, but more importantly, one of them is on Tuesday, and it rhymes with smear mess. So it's exciting. Oh, my face is so funny. Okay, so it's an exciting new model, or is it an exciting, a more affordable version of an existing model? I don't know. I mean, I do, but I'm not telling until Tuesday. All right, that's so prepare for that. I think you'll enjoy it. And to everyone else, tomorrow we do the clinic for everybody who's a Patreon member, $10 and up. There's a clinic tomorrow, so you guys please join at 11 a.m. And for all the top tier patrons, we're doing the hang tomorrow with coffee, and the bonus podcast is next Saturday for all the $5 tier. So thank all of you guys for that. And I'm sorry, read some of your comments. And anyways. And enjoy your holiday weekend, and happy 4th of July, and happy birthday to Amanda. All right, guys. And thanks for your time, and know your gear. If you're learning something or having a good time, don't forget you can subscribe for free and help this channel. Or for $10 a month, you can join me on Patreon for live clinics where you can ask questions every